This podcast is brought to you by Odiogo.com.
Toxic oil spill rains warned could destroy North America. A dire report prepared for President Medvedev by Russia's Ministry of Natural Resources is warning today that the British petroleum BP oil and gas leak in the Gulf of Mexico is about to become the worst environmental catastrophe in all of human history, threatening the entire eastern half of the North American continent with total destruction. Russian scientists are basing their apocalyptic destruction assessment due to BP's use of millions of gallons of the chemical dispersal agent known as Corexit 9500, which is being pumped directly into the leak of this wellhead over a mile under the Gulf of Mexico waters and designed, this report says, to keep hidden from the American public the full and tragic extent of this leak that is now estimated to be over 2.9 million gallons a day. The dispersal agent Corexit 9500 is a solvent originally developed by Exxon and now manufactured by the Nalco holding company of Naperville, Illinois, that is 4 times more toxic than oil. Oil is toxic at 11 ppm parts per million, Corexit 9500 at only 2.61 ppm. In a report written by Anita George Aries and James R. Clark for Exxon Biomedical Sciences, Incorporated, titled Acute Aquatic Toxicity of 3 Corexit Products, an overview, Corexit 9500 was found to be one of the most toxic dispersal agents ever developed. Even worse, according to this report, with higher water temperatures, like those now occurring in the Gulf of Mexico, its toxicity grows. The United States Environmental Protection Agency EPA, in discovering BP's use of this dangerous dispersal agent, ordered BP to stop using it, but BP refused, stating that their only alternative to Corexit 9500 was an even more dangerous dispersal agent known as Seabed-4. The main differences between Corexit 9500 and Seabed-4 lie in how long these dangerous chemicals take to degrade into their constituent organic compounds, which for Corexit 9500 is 28 days. Seabed-4, on the other hand, degrades into an organic chemical called nonylphenol that is toxic to aquatic life and can persist in the environment for years. A greater danger involving Corexit 9500, and as outlined by Russian scientists in this report, is that with its 2.61 ppm toxicity level, and when combined with the heating Gulf of Mexico waters, its molecules will be able to phase transition from their present liquid to a gaseous state, allowing them to be absorbed into clouds and allowing their release as toxic rain upon all of eastern North America. Even worse, should a Katrina-like tropical hurricane form in the Gulf of Mexico while tens of millions of gallons of Corexit 9500 are sitting on, or near, its surface, the resulting toxic rain falling upon the North American continent could theoretically destroy all microbial life to any depth that reaches, resulting in an unimaginable environmental catastrophe, destroying all life forms from the bottom of the evolutionary chart to the top. Note: for molecules of a liquid to evaporate, they must be located near the surface, be moving in the proper direction, and have sufficient kinetic energy to overcome liquid phase intermolecular forces. Only a small proportion of the molecules meet these criteria, so the rate of evaporation is limited. Since the kinetic energy of a molecule is proportional to its temperature, evaporation proceeds more quickly at higher temperatures. As over 50 miles of the U.S. state of Louisiana's coastline has already been destroyed by the spill, American scientists are warning that the damage may be impossible to repair, and as we can read, as reported by the Associated Press News Service, the gooey oil washing into the maze of marshes along the Gulf Coast could prove impossible to remove, leaving a toxic stew lethal to fish and wildlife, government officials and independent scientists said. Officials are considering some drastic and risky solutions. They could set the wetlands on fire or flood areas in hopes of floating out the oil. They warn an aggressive cleanup could ruin the marshes and do more harm than good. And to understand the full import of this catastrophe, it must be remembered that this disaster is occurring in what is described as the biologically richest waters in America, with the greatest amount of oil and toxic Corexit 9500 set to come ashore in the coming days and weeks to destroy it completely for decades to come. Reports are also coming from the United States that their government is secretly preparing to evacuate tens of millions of their citizens from the Gulf of Mexico states should the most dire of these scientific warnings start to come true. The greatest lesson to be learned by these Americans is that their government oil industry cabal has been just as destructive to them as their government banking one, both of which have done more to destroy the United States these past couple of years than any foreign enemy could dare dream was possible. But to their greatest enemy the Americans need look no further than their nearest mirror, as they are the ones who allowed these monsters to rule over them in the first place.